See right there where he bolts in? This guy in the gray, let me back it up a little bit. This guy in the gray, see, he's peeking around. And then he immediately goes in as if he saw the gun and he's attempting to disarm Alex. Everybody else is kind of tussling, don't know what's going on in this tussling match, but he seems like he clearly sees the gun and he's reaching for it, which obviously comes out with it. That's so tough because with that angle, I'll play it again without me pausing and stopping and stuff. Yeah, that's a tough one. This does change kind of like the whole story because if the shot went off right here, how would the officers know where they came from or the agents? Because it really does seem like he accidentally fired this off. And if that was the case, it's impossible for the officers to know what was going on. You know, they tussling. And then I also heard somebody yell gun. I'm not sure if it was him. If it was him, that'd be crazy because he yelled gun. And on top of that, he accidentally fired it off or in purpose intentionally. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's unfortunate because as these agents are tussling, somebody yells gun, they hear a shot. I can understand a perspective of, oh, I was in fear. You know what I mean? I was fearing for my life. Because at first I didn't understand that because it's like 7 of them versus one person. So I was like, you fearing for your life when it's 70 y'all versus one? Nah, I'm not really going for that. But this is unfortunate right here because if the shot really went off when this guy was running away, the agents had no idea. All they can hear is a shot and somebody yelled gun. So they immediately is, you know what I mean? And he's resisting, so nobody really know what he got on him. Oh, that's unfortunate. Now, Department of Homeland Security, yeah. They came out with a statement and said at 9:05, DHS law enforcement officers were conducting a targeted operation in Minneapolis against an illegal alien wanted for a violent assault. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Now, the thing is, I've seen a lot of different angles, and it's very, they can't say that he approached them with a 9mm handgun because I'm going to show you another angle, and this would clearly debunk what they're talking about.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
So you can see right here. Yes, he did approach the officer after the officer pushed the woman on the ground. But I think it's impossible to assume that the officer knew he had a gun on him. This all happened way too fast. Officer wasn't even worried about Alex at the time. Then he started macing him. It's impossible to know he was being approached by a man that was armed. I'm not really buying that at all. He quickly maced him. And then right after that, got into a tussling match. So I'm not really buying the officer knew he was armed because that's what they accused Alex of. Once an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm. I don't think they knew he was armed. It happened way too fast. The officers attempted to disarm the suspect, but the armed suspect violently resisted. More details on the armed struggle are forthcoming. This could be true because as they were tussling, anything could have been said. We weren't there. Officer could have felt something as they was tussling and could have been attempting to try to take it from him. And that's maybe why he was fighting. Who knows? So there, very nuanced conversation. Could be some truth to it. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. Now, at first, I disagree with this because it was 7 of them, and it seemed like, to me, that somebody yelled gun and somebody just started unloading the clip. And while he was on the ground, they kept on firing, which is always a tragic situation to hear and witness. So I didn't really like the wording of fearing for his life. However, with the camera footage that I showed earlier, I can understand how one would say they was fearing for their life because in this camera angle again that I'm going to share, in this camera angle, it's hard to not understand where the agents were coming from because these agents that are behind this guy, they have no idea what's going on. They're fighting. They're tussling. This guy runs away. Shot goes off. None of them know what's going on. So I can understand, them saying they were fearing for their life. It's an unfortunate situation, but I can understand that. The suspect also had 2 magazines. Pronounced that scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines and no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Now that is very disingenuous because just because somebody has a gun doesn't automatically make them guilty. That doesn't mean that they're automatically seeking to use their gun for ill intent. So I think that's very disingenuous to say and assume. Obviously, tensions are high in Minnesota, so I can kind of understand the assumption, but you can't really just throw this on a dead man because he can't defend himself and just say, oh, he was looking to hurt officers because he had a gun on him with 2 magazines. 2 magazines might be a little obsessive or excessive. But just saying he had a gun so that automatically makes him guilty of something, very disingenuous. Seems like, again, they're trying to look for reasons to justify it. Now, I think with clear footage, they don't even have to say anything. I can understand where the officers are coming from, unfortunately, but it doesn't make him guilty that he had 2 magazines on him or a gun with 2 magazines on him. About 200 rioters arrived at the scene, began to obstruct and assault law enforcement on the scene. Crowd control measures were deployed for safety of public, blah, blah. Yeah, see, it's a tough situation all around. I think at the end of the day, my stance has always been do not go out there and risk your life. I never understood these protesters and what they're protesting because the original reason that ICE is up there and all these agents was for Somali fraud. So, in my humble opinion, I would have never been out there to begin with. There's nothing to protest for. ISIS came up here to literally protect us from the fraud that's going on. And on top of that, even if I was in that state of mind of protesting, I'm not going anywhere until I see them government officials and politicians on the front lines. They sitting there from their house yelling and telling all the residents and citizens to go out there and defend their city as they sit at home in their mansion watching from the TV. I would never go out there and put my life on the line if they're not doing it. That's another thing. Also, I think it's also disingenuous for anybody to say, see, it could have been you. See, it's happening to American citizens. Because that's the headline for a lot of the news outlets is an American citizen was shot and killed by, agents in Minnesota. Him being a citizen did not matter. And I don't like when they do that. Him being a citizen did not matter in this situation. He wasn't targeted because he was a citizen. He was obstructing law enforcement. He got in the way of an operation that was going on. Even I understand that he was defending those two women that was being pushed. So shout out to him for just doing that. You know what I mean? Trying to protect the women. Again, I would never have been out there to begin with, but that's what he was doing. So once the ICE agent pushed the woman down, he jumped in. So for people to say that this could have been you, see ICE is going after American citizens, that's not true at all. It could not have been you because you simply, you have to literally be in that exact state of mind to be exactly where he was at that very moment. That could not have been a normal person on a normal day. You would have to be in the mindset that I want to hit the streets and protest. I want to, go against these officers. They're all fake officers. Whatever the propaganda is that the Minnesota leadership is pushing, you have to be in that mindset to be in the streets doing what Alex was doing that day. For it to have been you, or a possibility of it to be you. It did not matter that he was an American citizen and none of that. The biggest problem I have is that these different pages, like government ran pages, Homeland Security, ICE, vice presidents, governors like Tim Walsh, all of these different pages, Trump, when they post lies, there has to be some type of punishment. There has to be. Now, the people can, rage bait, all that stuff. But when it comes down to the government there has to be some type of consequence to lie on social media, to incite violence, to get the crowd worked up. There has to be. We were talking about this right here with Department of Homeland Security. Again, there could be some truth to it with the part of fearing for their lives, the officers. But saying the suspect had 2 magazines and it looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage, that's not true. You don't know that. You don't know that. These government ran pages cannot say things like this. It's not black and white. Same thing for the other side. The Democrats rant Twitter page, X page, they push heavy propaganda. They push things to piss the people off. They came up with that fake story of ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old from school and used him as bait to get his illegal dad to come outside. Like, they pushed that out there, and that was complete cap. That was a lie. I feel like there has to be punishment for government ran pages to push that type of propaganda. Because all it does is just work up American citizens and go out there and risk their life, unfortunately, like Alex. So I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. I think this is an unfortunate situation. I don't think it's clean cut. I think anybody that was choosing and picking a side off of the first video that hit on the internet, and they was either defending Alex or defending these agents immediately, I think that is, disingenuous as well. And they're looking to push a narrative because this was not clean cut. It was a lot of gray area in this shooting. And I think this was a case of an unfortunate series of events. Wrong place at the wrong time. Again, in my opinion, just stay at home. Don't get involved in all this stuff. But I do think that, unfortunately, this officer right here fired the gun when he was running away. And it spooked all of these agents, and it unfortunately caused Alex to lose his life. But let me know what y'all think. Make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel.